Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto gets sent back in time and becomes a half-demon gets a harem, part 5. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Wave mission. Calm before the storm. As it turned out, the next morning came with much joy for the poor citizens of Wave. Tazuna had nearly fainted when he saw the massive stores of fresh seafood in his old ice house. He had wanted to know who could be such a kind person to do such a thing for the people of his community and got his answer when he came across a tuft of golden blonde fur stuck in the door frame. He knew of only one person with fur like that, a certain tailed Hanyu. But from the letter he could tell that the boy didn't want any sort of attention for his good deed, and while Tazuna really wanted to show him thanks, he decided it was best to follow his wishes. So with that, a happy Tsunami and a shy Haku made themselves busy doling out fresh seafood to the people of Wave. Naruto watched in the distance from his perch in the treetops. Q and Sakura jumped up next to him and Q went into her human form. Naruto soon found himself being hugged by the two girls. That was a very nice thing you did for those people, Naruto-kun. Sakura said softly. Arching his eyebrow, Naruto asked. Oh, and how do you know it was me? Q giggled. I told her. Also Kakashi and Zabuza watched you do it last night, so it's likely that Haku-chan knows as well. Ah, I see. Naruto answered. As long as no one makes a big deal out of it, I'm good. So what's the plan for today? Sakura asked. I thought I might give you a bit more training in your elements. I'm going to see if you can learn fusion jutsu. With water and earth you should be able to fuse them and get the plant element, that, and I wanted to see your the chakra bow you were telling me about. Naruto said. I think you'll like it. Archery runs in my family and I tweaked the advanced chakra manipulation you taught me to create arrows for my bow. Sakura said, both excited and proud. Q nodded with an impressed look. That sounds pretty good, Sakura-chan, and while you keep our man here busy, I can go hunting for some rabbits for tonight's dinner. Naruto chuckled. Your favorite food is always going to be rabbit, isn't it? Well, it's better than ramen. Q stated. That depends. Wild rabbit is, but domesticated rabbit tastes more like rich chicken. Besides, you know I'm not addicted to ramen anymore, though I still like it a lot. There are other better foods out there. Naruto agreed. Anything with strawberries. Sakura giggled. Strawberries were her most guilty pleasure, and that included any kind of food with them in it. I actually like raspberries and blackberries a bit more myself, but I agree that strawberries are quite good. Q chuckled. I'm not much for sweets myself, though I do like most any kind of fresh fruit. Just how did we get on the topic of food anyways? Are you too hungry? Naruto asked. No. It's just fun to talk about our favorite foods sometimes. Q answered. Naruto just nodded and then sighed, his eyes narrowing slightly as he looked over the area. Both girls could sense their mate's change in mood and looked at him worriedly. What Naruto didn't know was that Sakura and Kyuubi had a long talk whilst he was out the previous night, and now she knew everything. Kyuubi had used a similar memory viewing jutsu to the one Naruto used, except this showed not only Q's memories but ones she had managed to get from Naruto. Needless to say, Sakura had been horrified at how her other self had treated him and had fawned mindlessly all over Sasuke, even after he became a traitor. The only slight comfort that she got was the fact that her alternate self seemed to gain some feelings for Naruto in later years, though when he got banished from Konoha that had made little difference. The biggest shock came from the deal he made with Shinigami. To think, not only was her boyfriend possibly one of the most powerful beings walking the earth, but he came from an alternate timeline and was the avatar of Shinigami. Kyuubi had been surprised that Sakura had taken it all in stride and amazed at the young woman's desire to right what her alternate self did wrong. Q was happy though. Sakura would make an excellent mate for her Naruto-kun, and this Sakura was much different that her alternate timeline's self was. In fact, Q would have to say that she was a much better person in this timeline than she had been in the previous one. HNN, where is Kakashi and Imo-tem? Naruto asked suddenly. Kakashi-sensei is having Sasuke work on the tree climbing exercise right now, and he said something about practicing his Hiraishin later when Sasuke was done. Sakura answered. Naruto gave a slight nod. Hiraishin is a pretty hard jutsu to learn. It's basically a heavily modified Shunshin jutsu mixed with Fuinjutsu and summoning. He won't have an easy time mastering it. It took me forever to. At any rate, let's go and start your training, Sakura-chan. Naruto said. Okay, where should we go? She asked as Kyuubi returned to fox form and scurried off to hunt. I scouted a clearing in the woods a short distance from here. It will be perfect for training, Naruto said, remembering the clearing he had trained in the last time. Sakura nodded and both began jumping from tree to tree as Naruto led the way towards the clearing. Both chuckling slightly as they passed Kakashi and Sasuke, who was having a hard time with the tree climbing exercise. 2 days later, Naruto sighed slightly as he sat perched on a tree branch near the bridge. Several of Tezuna's workers had quit out of fear, so Naruto made about 50 shadow clones to replace his lost workers as Zabuza and Haku acted as guards. 2 days had passed since Sakura started her expanded elemental training. Naruto had to shake his head at the memory. Sakura, as it turned out, was a natural echomancer. She had an unnatural affinity for plant element chakra, much like Haku's affinity with ice. In fact, Naruto was almost certain that with a bit more training, Sakura's plant affinity would eventually surpass the Kekkei Genkai abilities that the first Hokage had. She was growing at a truly amazing pace. Her chakra levels were now triple that of Sasuke's were when they became a team. Her control was as good as ever. Her water and earth manipulation was easily low Junin level, and the special taijutsu he had been teaching her, she took to it like a duck to water. Even her medical studies were coming along nicely, putting her easily at mid to high Chunin level. Then there was her chakra bow, that had shocked him. Not only was she damn near a crack shot, but she could make arrows of pure chakra, earth chakra, water chakra, and now plant chakra. Hell, she even found a way to combine explosive tags to standard arrows if she is running low on chakra or needs to conserve it. Her studies on anatomy gave her great insight as to what targets she would need to aim for, and her inhuman chakra control enables her to make arrows with little to no chakra waste. He was very proud of her and had told her as such. Much to his surprise and delight, she seemed to thrive on such compliments, since it earned him a sudden and rather heated make-out session with her. He had to snicker lightly to himself. Imo-tem had no idea whatsoever as to what he had missed out on. Oh well, the Tem's loss, his gain. Kakashi had also come along quite well with his Hiraishin, especially after Naruto gave him a few pointers during their private training. Kakashi could now perform the jutsu, but with only one kunai at a time. It would take a bit of training for him to be able to use more than one. Naruto remembered it had taken him 4 years and loads of shadow clones to get the jutsu mastered to where he could use more than one of the special kunai. Naruto had also trained a bit with Zabuza and Haku. He was currently teaching Zabuza how to perform one of his signature moves, the demonic spin out. The former Kiri Nin was coming along slowly, since one had to gain an immunity to the sudden dizziness that followed after using the technique. Still, Zabuza would master it eventually. He had also helped Haku with her Kekkei Genkai. He taught her 2 of his own ice jutsu, the crystal prison jutsu and piercing ice missile jutsu. She had a good number of water jutsu thanks to Zabuza, but she had no wind jutsu since Zabuza knew none, and since part of her affinity was wind, Naruto decided to help. As such, he taught her Great Breakthrough, Kei's no Yaiba, drilling air bullet and compressed air missile. She learned Great Breakthrough and Kei's no Yaiba right off, but the other 2 were giving her a bit of trouble. They were higher ranked jutsu. Compressed air missile was easily a low S ranked jutsu itself. So he taught her how to better manipulate her wind affinity, since she was used to using just ice and water. Zabuza also took a bit of affinity training and learned to better harness his water jutsu and lower his chakra expenditure. Naruto taught Zabuza, seeking Shark Missile and Aqua Lance, a jutsu Naruto created to enhance Kenjutsu. Naruto had much more powerful jutsu, but he would keep most of those to himself since they required insane amounts of chakra, control and ability to pull off, much like his mystic arts, which he had both armed and unarmed jutsu for. On an interesting note, Haku had also seemed to have taken a liking to him. She was always blushing around him and giving off the same honey, vanilla smell that the other girls gave off. This slightly confused Naruto, mainly because he didn't know her too well. Hell, in the other timeline he thought she was a he. The whole "I am a boy" bit apparently was a ploy to help keep Haku safe from some of the more unsavory things that happened to Kunoichi. And to Naruto's surprise, once she got rid of the bindings on her, she was damn near the same size as Hinata was. Naruto sighed. One thing was for sure, life was never boring. Looking up at the sky, Naruto could see that it was getting late. Tazuna, Zabuza and Haku had already left and his clones were dispelling themselves. His stomach growled a bit. It was dinner time. He idly wondered just how long he had been lost in his own thoughts and silently cursed himself for not being more aware of his surroundings. Jumping off his perch, he put on a burst of speed and ran towards Tazuna's home. Naruto arrived shortly after Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke did. He had taken them out for training since it was Naruto's turn to help with guard duty. Sakura glomped him and pecked him on the cheek in greeting as Kyuubi perched on his shoulder and cuddled up to him. He let out a slight chuckle and pecked Sakura on the forehead and gave Kyuubi a quick affectionate scratch behind the ears, causing her to purr happily. Sasuke gave a disgusted snort before scoffing at the two teens and the fox. Such frivolous shows of affection disgusted him greatly. He was still pissed off that Sakura not only mastered the tree walking exercise, something he was still working on, and she had mastered water walking and kunai balancing. Kakashi had started her on waterfall climbing and had taught her two jutsu to add to her arsenal, Water Fang Bullet and Earth Dragon Missile. She learned them quickly and would have them mastered soon. Something that irked Sasuke to no end. How could a pink-haired demon whore from a no-name clan be better than him? It was preposterous. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do at the moment, so he settled for his usual brooding. Tsunami and Haku were busily bustling about in the kitchen preparing food for everyone as Kakashi and Zabuza were reading a familiar orange book, both letting out small perverted giggles. Tazuna was guzzling down sake as usual as Naruto and Sakura sat down at the table with Kyuubi perched on the young Hanyu's shoulders. Inari had also come down to get dinner and as usual he was sulking and brooding. Naruto wanted to gag at how the kid was acting just like Emo-tem. Though he knew what would likely be coming from the boy soon, he did his best to ignore it and go on as if he had no idea. What he got was worse than the previous time. Inari glared hatefully at the cheerful ninjas sitting across the table from him. He couldn't stand it that they were so damn happy while he was so terribly miserable. Finally having enough, especially from the pink-haired tart and the blonde moron across from him, he slammed his small fists down on the table. Why do you even bother? Gato is just going to kill you all. Don't you realize that you can't ever win against him? Inari shouted. The entire table went silent and Naruto sighed. Just like last time. Well, time to nip this in the bud. Kindly keep such opinions to yourself, Inari-san. You know nothing about the true situation, and until you do not try to undermine my team's confidence. Naruto said in slight monotone. We are nothing like you, so please do not judge us as such. He added. Inari turned red with anger as tears welled up in his eyes. I'm glad I'm nothing like you. You, blonde baka, you have no idea how horrible my life has been. But you probably come from some rich family and are spoiled. You probably have no idea how hard life can be. Inari would have continued if Naruto's fist hadn't impacted with the table with enough force to make every dish and glass jump several inches. Naruto let out a low growl. The brat had really grated on his nerves, more so than he did the last time. Kakashi, Sakura and Kyuubi cringed at what Inari had said. That brat had no clue. Haku winced as well while Zabuza watched on silently. Tazuna and Tsunami looked ashamed of the child. Naruto's eyes flashed baleful crimson and glared into Inari's. Even Sasuke had enough brains to keep his trap shut and back off at this point. Silence, you little brat. Naruto's voice once again held a demonic timbre to it. I know nothing of suffering, do I? I would suggest that you find out all the facts about other people before judging them too hastily. I probably know more about suffering than most people in this damn room. Naruto snarled and ripped off his trench coat and shirt. Haku and Sakura flushed. So did Tsunami for that matter. But that stopped when they noticed just how many scars littered Naruto's muscular form. Even Sakura hadn't had a chance to really get a good look the last time she'd seen him without a shirt. Some were small, easily gained from training, some were big, reminders of past fights, but there were others that were disfiguring, especially on his back. It was littered with what appeared to be lash and slash marks from some kind of whip and or blade. Faint scars from Chidori attacks from his previous life in the future were also present. Anyone could tell just by looking at his torso, he had gone through hell. Do you see these wonderful marks? These are reminders. You see, since the day I was born I was hated, loathed and despised by my village. All because my father, in a last-ditch effort to save our home, sacrificed me and himself to seal a demon within me that had been forced to attack our village by a madman. I lost both of my parents that night, the night of my birth. That very same night I had 2 attempted assassinations on me. Had it not been for our Hokage I would have been dead. I grew up fearing and hating my own birthday because the mobs of villagers would always be so much worse that day. I always spent it in the hospital after getting beaten to within an inch of my life. Why? Because I was a living, walking and talking reminder to those people and what they lost that day. The demon, freed from the force that controlled it, did its best to help me and heal me, but it could never get rid of all the scars. Do you know that I have had more assassination attempts on my life than even our Hokage has in his lifetime? I believe the last number came up at around 423. Such a wonderful, spoiled life I live, no. Well then, how about this? Because of the burden forced upon me, even if it had been innocent, I was thrown out of the orphanage at age 5. I lived on the streets for nearly a year, always dodging mobs of angry villagers. I had to eat from the trash bins to get any kind of food. Stores of all kinds refused me service and what they would sell me was either poisoned or rotted. Our Hokage did his best to help, giving me a small apartment and some money whenever he could. My apartment had been broken into and ravaged more times than I care to count, so I had no items of personal value. In fact, I usually scrounged the trash to get what I had, since all the shops in my village either threw me out or charged me triple price for their worst wares. Then to top it all off, I became a Hanyu, giving the ignorant fools all the more reason to hate and loathe my existence. Naruto's friends had a look of shame in their eyes, except for Sasuke, who didn't care. Zabuza was just shaking his head and Haku looked ready to cry, knowing such horror herself. Sakura was sobbing softly next to Naruto, with a tearful Kyuubi trying her best to calm both her mate and her new friend. Naruto sighed again and let his power levels go back to normal as well as his voice. Tazuna was a bit freaked but knew it best that he kept his mouth shut, and he hoped his grandson would learn a proper lesson. Tsunami was of like mind but had a frown on her face. She had never seen a Hanyu before, it was strange. Inari for his part was scared shitless. Inari, you need to understand that no matter how bad you might have it, there is always someone out there who has it worse off. There are people out there that have suffered just as much, if not more so than I have. But no matter how bad things get, how horrible life becomes, you have to keep hope that one day it will be better. Naruto's voice became softer and kindly, yet held a strong undertone of maturity. I for one never gave up. No matter how bad things got, I learned that sitting around and crying wasn't going to do me any good. I learned that in order to move on, I needed to rise above the hate and anger rather than stoop to that level of ignorance and foolishness. And in time I began to find my precious people, people that not only gave me the strength I needed to carry on no matter what, but they also gave me true power, the power to rise up against any and all odds no matter what in order to protect them. Giving Kyubi an affectionate scratch and Sakura's shoulder a light squeeze, he looked at the boy with a small smile. You still have people who consider you precious to them, and I am sure you feel the same about them, your mother and grandfather. You might not realize it, but you are hurting them. When you are sad, so are your precious people. You should consider yourself lucky, you still have your family. I would give almost anything to spend just one fleeting moment with my parents. But I have realized that such things are impossible, but that doesn't mean I cannot find or make a new family to love and cherish, a new family to give me strength to let go of the pains of my past and heal the scars on my heart. Cherish who you have, Inari, and find more precious people to protect. When you find them, and let them in, you will discover an awesome power that will give you the strength you need to stand up against anything, even bastards like Gato. Your stepfather was a true hero, he died fighting for what he believed in, honor that, don't make his sacrifice go to waste. Just because he is no longer with you in the physical sense, doesn't mean that he doesn't live on in your heart. Heroes do still exist, they come in all manner of forms and personalities. Naruto walked up to Inari and wiped some of the boy's tears away, and to the boy's surprise, gave him a brotherly hug. Find yourself a new hero, but never forget the ones previous. Live for your stepfather, he would want that, he would want you to be happy. Find your precious people and fight for them and your beliefs with all your being, and then you too will become a hero. There aren't always happy endings in this world of ours, but we must do our best to see that some come to pass. Think about what I've said and remember. I will always be there for you. If no one else will be, so will your mother and grandfather. We believe in you, kiddo, so believe in yourself. Naruto said softly and ruffled Inari's hair. He then stood, turned on his heel and walked out of the now silent house. Tsunami, Haku, Sakura and Kyubi were weeping silent tears. Tazuna had his head bowed, Sasuke was brooding as usual, Inari was staring blankly at the place Naruto had just been as Kakashi and Zabuza looked a bit downcast. Was what he said, was it all true? Inari asked quietly. Kakashi nodded and sighed sadly. It is. Sadly, it was a very sugar-coated version too. That young man's life could only easily be described as hell on earth. Only recently has his life begun to get any better. In many ways, he is his parents' son, his unbreakable will and spirit never cease to amaze, and his outlook and ability to forgive are a miracle all in their own. He has never once showed hatred towards those who have abused him, all he desires is to protect them and the people he deems precious to him. And he does so fiercely, his power is nearly unmatched by anything except, perhaps, the size of his own heart. Kakashi said, looking at the door Naruto left out of. You should listen to his words, Inari, he is only thinking of your own well-being and happiness. The copy ninja added. It is a shame, the fate of the Jinchuriki. Zabuza said, shaking his head sadly. The power of human sacrifice indeed. To think he would willingly sacrifice so much, even for people that hate him, he is a far better man than I. But that is just how he is. Sakura said softly. Naruto-kun has always sacrificed his own happiness for that of others. He is always trying to help those in need, never asking for anything in return. It's why I love him. I nearly missed my chance to be with him because of my own stupidity, but now I will be there for him, so that he doesn't have to always sacrifice his happiness for others. Kyubi nodded her head, feeling the same. Sasuke scoffed and went off to bed while grumbling about attention-seeking demons. It took all the restraint Kakashi, Kyubi, Sakura, Haku and Zabuza held not to get up and throttle the arrogant little prick. Even Tsunami and surprisingly Inari shot him disgusted glares. After a moment, Haku got up and gathered up Naruto's mesh shirt and trench coat. think I will take Naruto-sama's coat and shirt to him, the nights here can be a bit chilly. She said softly and walked out after him hastily. Sakura wanted to follow, but for some reason she felt that it would be best if she stayed put. She had heard from Kyuubi just how hard Haku's life had been before meeting Zabuza. Perhaps both of them would be good for each other. Sakura did like Haku. She was a very kind and gentle young woman, and in the past couple of days, the pink-haired Kunoichi had found that the more she was around Haku, the less she minded if Naruto grew to have feelings for her as well. If there was one thing she knew about her fiancé, it was that he had a big enough heart to love them all equally. What was another girl or two anyways when you have someone like Naruto? Many thoughts flowed through Haku's mind as she searched out the young man that intrigued her so much. He was unlike any man she had ever met before. He was frighteningly powerful, yet he was humble. He seemed to have years of experience, despite his age, and held an aura of confidence, maturity and power cloaked around him. To find out that he too knew the same suffering that she did made her heart go out to him. She could hardly fathom how he could be so kind and forgiving when by all rights he should be destroying everything in sight. But ever since the moment she first met him, she could tell that there was something special about him, something that not only warmed her heart but attracted her to him. It was almost as if she knew him in a way, perhaps their similar pasts would better explain it. The ice mistress couldn't deny the fact that she wanted to get to know him better. Hell, she wouldn't even mind dating him. A truly shocking thing, since she rarely let herself get close or think about any other man than her father figure Zabuza. She had also heard Kakashi and Zabuza talking about him being the last of his clan, meaning that he practiced polygamy. At first that made her a bit wary of him, thinking him to be the usual male pervert. But over the past couple of days and through their training sessions she learned he was anything but a pervert. In fact, he actually despised perverts. It was strange in a way. She had seen that he could be truly frightening. His power and the fact he's half demon were not lost on her. Not that she actually cared, she thought his tail was actually cute. But when not in the midst of battle he was actually quite kind and very gentle, almost as if he was a different person. Much better than his teammate, the Uchiha. That boy must have been born with a mean stick rammed up his. It didn't take her long to find Naruto. He was standing on one of the many unused docks on the pier. His arms crossed, tail and hair blowing slightly in the breeze as he gazed out over the moonlit waters. The silvery moonlight washing over his bare upper body seemed to give him an unearthly glow due to his unnatural tanned skin tone, his scars looking all the more darker in the pale lighting. Haku felt her breathe hitch as she took in the scene before her. Sure, she thought he was handsome, no woman in their right mind wouldn't, but to see him like this, it was just something she couldn't put into words. It was breathtaking. Sensing the presence behind him, Naruto turned to see a slightly flushed Haku looking at him through slightly glazed half-lidded eyes. He offered her a small smile, the painful past memories his speech had drudged up long since put back in their place. Haku-chan, why are you out at this time of night? You could catch cold. He said, concerned for her health. Haku's blush turned a darker shade of pink, but she just gave him her usual cute smile. I brought you out your shirt and coat since it is you who should worry about getting sick. She replied. Naruto gave a short chuckle. I'm a Hanyu and I have a very advanced and accelerated healing factor and immune system. I don't get sick, in fact I never have once in my life. But thanks for your concern, it is appreciated. Haku fidgeted a bit and Naruto motioned for her to join him on the pier. He thanked her again as he took his shirt and coat, placing them back on before turning back out towards the ocean view. Haku also looked out with him, standing next to him in a comfortable silence. It was actually a beautiful night. The moonlight shone on the water's surface like a sliver dancing across an endless mass of dark blue silk fluttering in the breeze. It was so clear that you could see each of the stars twinkling happily in the night sky, almost as if the troubles in the world were just a little less at the moment. It was indeed a beautiful sight to behold. It's a beautiful night, isn't Haku-chan? Naruto asked in a soft tone, still gazing out over the waters. It is. She answered in a like tone. It's amazing how something as simple as nature can bring peace to one's soul. It is a shame that many people do not realize it. For all the ugliness I have seen in my life, all I need to do is remember scenes like this and my precious people. Those two things alone remind me just what I fight for, why I fight and why I protect. Nature, be it night or day, always has a beauty about it so long as it is left unspoiled by man. It always serves as a reminder that there are indeed things still pure in this world. Naruto mused. Haku flushed again. What was it about this young Hanyu that enraptured her so? Could it be his handsome looks, or was it his personality that made her heart flutter and stomach turn so delightfully? She glanced at his facial features for a moment, idly wondering if his lips felt as soft and warm as they looked. She shivered slightly due to both a sudden chilly breeze and her own thoughts. Naruto, being a gentleman, saw that his friend was cold, so he put an arm around her and pulled her close to him, knowing that his jacket was too thin to actually offer any warmth. Haku gasped slightly at the contact and flushed deeply as she cuddled into Naruto's side. Despite the chilly weather, he was very warm and his touch gentle and comforting. Should we head back? You seem to be getting cold. Naruto asked. No. That's fine. I'd like to stay out here for a little bit. Haku answered, not willing to let go of the sudden object of her affections. As you wish, Naruto said and returned to looking out over the waters. Naruto just smiled at the young ice maiden cuddled up next to him, not ever realizing just what kind of impact he was having on her. In a lot of ways she kind of reminded him of a mixture of Hinata and Sakura. She was shy at times but knew how to be accretive when need be, and she was exceptionally gifted. Naruto idly wondered if Haku could teach Hinata ice jutsu when they got back to Konoha, since Hinata had affinities for wind and water. Not that he wouldn't teach her some himself. Haku found that she felt quite content in the strong arms of her new friend and hoped, given some time, that they could grow to be more than just friends. Come on, Haku-chan, let's go back to Tazuna's, we have more training to do tomorrow. Naruto said. Okay. Haku answered softly and followed him back, though she never let go of his arm the entire time. You're getting very good with your element manipulations, Sakura-chan. If I didn't know better, I'd almost think you had a plant element Kekkei Genkei. Naruto praised. Sakura was slightly panting next to him, and in front of her was a rose bush in full bloom that she had made from a single seed and fusing her earth and water element chakra. It was still a bit of a strain for her, but it was getting much easier. As she found out, fusion jutsu not only required a lot of chakra control but a fair amount of chakra as well. To her credit though, she had learned wood clone and wood encampment wall jutsus fairly easy, but both were low-level jutsu to begin with. Once she got more competent and had less chakra drain, Naruto told her he would teach her thorn prison, ensnaring vine, grass sanban and leaf shuriken jutsus. Sakura had even started on her own project, a new one. She had collected a large number of cherry blossom petals and was infusing them with her chakra. Not only would the chakra keep the pretty pink, red and white petals alive, but when focused properly it made them razor sharp. At the moment she could only control a small amount of them at any given time, but if Naruto was right, Sakura was about to create a special new ability similar to what Gaara did with his sand. In a way, it was kind of scary. Thanks, Naruto-kun, Sakura said happily. These fusion jutsu are pretty hard though. Naruto nodded. Yeah, they can be. But once your chakra levels reach Junin level, and given your control abilities, you will have much less problems with them. But for now you have a fair jutsu arsenal, much better than most other genin. You have your chakra bow and soon you'll have your blossom petals as well. All of which can be classified as Haruno clan jutsu. You've got a lot to be proud about. Sakura blushed prettily. Naruto may not realize it, but he is in fact the reason she works so hard, and he is what inspires her. He is always making suggestions on things she can do, and given her above average intelligence, she has been able to create a few jutsu on her own, almost unheard of among genin or anyone else their age. Kyuubi walked into the clearing, in her Hanyu form once again, and gave Naruto a quick kiss as greeting before setting down a small basket of food Tsunami had prepared for them. To say the others had been surprised last night when she took her humanoid form would be an understatement. Though for the record, Zabuza, Tazuna and Kakashi got slight nosebleeds at the sight of her. She and Sakura gave a quick explanation while Haku was out looking for Naruto. Kakashi had just sighed and muttered about how he might as well not be surprised anymore. Besides, having viewed Naruto's memories that day the teams were assigned in the Hokage's office had mellowed him out greatly towards the former nine-tailed demoness. The fact that she was Naruto's first mate had made Kakashi and Zabuza go into a small fit of perverted giggles, and why not, tails and fox ears aside, she was one hot little number. Kyuubi sat down next to Sakura and smiled, her tail swaying happily behind her. Sakura had to giggle a bit at how cute Kyuubi could be at times. "So, how's your training going, Sakura-chan?" Kyuubi asked. "Pretty good, Q-chan. I learned wood encampment wall and wood clone jutsu today, and my fusion manipulation is getting better," she answered, feeling pride in her accomplishments. "That's great. I just saw Haku-chan a few minutes ago. She was helping Kakashi-san train the emo kid. He was getting his kicked." She chuckled. "No surprise there really. Haku-chan is very fast, especially if she uses her special bloodline jutsu, demonic ice mirrors," Naruto said as he pulled out some sandwiches and tea. That's probably what Kakashi-sensei is doing. He's trying to get Sasuke to improve his speed," Sakura added offhandedly as she accepted a sandwich. "So how long do you think we have before Gato Tem decides to strike out at us?" Kyuubi asked. "Zabuza is with Tazuna and he's getting a bit tense, said something about the fat man making a move soon," she added. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment. "I'd say we have at the most 2 days left until he tries something. That demon, Gornik, will likely wait until all hell breaks loose before he comes in to take over the fight." Kyuubi nodded. "Most likely, Gornik may be a greedy bastard, but he was a smart and powerful one too. You don't get the title of Sin Lord by just being overly sinful. The prick will probably show up with a small army of lesser demons as well. I'm not too worried about those. Wraiths, shadow beasts, lurkers, vampires and werewolves are all pretty much small fry compared to those devil-class bastards. Thankfully the Sin Lords loath to work with each other, so I doubt we will have to worry about any others showing up," Naruto stated. "What about other tailed demons? You said they would be likely to attack you if you ever left the village," Sakura asked. "That's true, but if any of them are stupid enough to attack, it would be more likely to happen while we are away from civilization. Biju rarely have qualms about attacking a village unless another more powerful Biju is there, and the lesser Biju like that five-tailed scorpion are usually either too stupid or primitive-minded to formulate a proper plan of action, or they despise going anywhere near places with too many humans due to their more animalistic thought patterns. Even some of the Biju lords are like that. Sanbi for instance. He's a giant three-tailed snapper turtle and quite powerful, but his mind is more along the lines of his non-demonic counterparts. Sure, he's aggressive by nature, but if you leave him alone he'll leave you alone, unless he's hungry, but otherwise he's nothing more than a overblown snapper turtle with 3 tails and no ability to use his powers other than on an instinctual level due to his primal thought process," Naruto explained. "Geez. When it comes to demons and stuff like that, you're smarter than any book I've seen in Konoha library," Sakura mused. "Well, it kinda comes with the territory. I am the 9-tailed lord after all, not to mention I gained most of Q's knowledge at one point," Naruto said a bit dryly. Sakura frowned a bit in thought for a moment. "Say, when she blushed a bit, mate with you, do we get any kind of special powers or anything like that? Do we become Hanyu too?" she asked curiously. "Yes and no," Kyuubi answered. Once, Naruto-kun, mates with someone. You, for example, will gain a telepathic link to him. You will gain more power up to about a quarter of Naruto-kun's total limit. His healing factor and accelerated immunity and his lifespan will also be passed on due to your soul bonding to his. There is a slight chance that you will gain some other powers, like your elemental affinities becoming Kekkei Genkai. But you won't become a Hanyu, at least not in the manner Naruto-kun is. At the most you will become a quarter demoness, and while a few minor features might change slightly, you won't get things like tails or the like. At the most you might get slit pupils and or whisker marks besides the mating mark. I'm pretty sure you'll get enhanced senses as well. Sakura just nods. I didn't really care either way, even if I were to gain tails or something like that, so slit pupils and whisker marks are fine with me if it happens. She didn't need to ask how the whole mating, bonding thing was done, Kyuubi had told her. While Sakura was very tempted, she felt it best to wait for a while before she go that intimate with Naruto, not that a little making out or petting wouldn't make up for it. By the way, how was Inari? I haven't seen him since the little episode last night. Naruto asked. Kyuubi smiled. He is much better now, Naruto-kun. You gave him much to think about, and I believe he has discovered that while his life has been hard, it has not been as bad as some others. He actually had a small smile on his face this morning. That's good. Naruto sighed. I didn't want to be too rough on the kid or freak anyone out, but it needed to be said. Though I do think I might had confused Haku-chan last night, she was a bit clingy when we were on the pier. She's probably got a crush on you, Sakura said as she took a sip of tea. Naruto choked on his sandwich, causing Kyuubi to giggle and pat his back. Naruto cleared his throat. Well, that is unexpected. Sakura pouted a bit. You like her, don't you? Well, she is my friend, yes, but I don't have that sort of feelings for her. He was cut off by Kyuubi. Yet, she giggled. Well, that might come in time, but for right now I am happy with you ladies. But if something does eventually grow between us, I will give her the same chance that I am giving all of you. Just remember, if more girls do come to join my family, I won't love any of you any less, I promise, and you both know I never go back on my word. Naruto pledged. Sakura sighed. I don't really mind. Haku-chan is a nice girl, just don't move too quickly. Some of us would like our fair share of time with you, okay? Naruto chuckled, leaned over and gave the pink-haired Kunoichi a kiss to relieve her of any doubts. Once Sakura was in a sufficient state of mind-numbing bliss, he repeated the gesture with Kyuubi, who was more than happy to reciprocate. He then got up and sat between the two girls, smiling a bit as they cuddled up to him. Never once in his past timeline did he think that he would ever gain this level of happiness. It was almost too good to be true. Even so, he would protect this happiness with all his might. I am finally gaining what I've always wanted. I never imagined feeling love could be this good when I can actually hold the ones I love. I doubt I'll ever stop being amazed at the wonderful feeling the girls give me. I finally have a family, an unorthodox one, but a family nonetheless. For them, I will fight till the end. I would die for them, I would live for them, always. Naruto thought as he pulled the girls a bit closer to him. While he no longer knew exactly what would happen in the future, it didn't matter anymore, not as long as his loved ones were kept safe. He was still worried about facing the Sin Lord, but Kami helped the demonic bastard should he lay a single claw any his girls or his friends and family, for then they would not face only the wrath of the Neo Kyuubi, but the avatar of Shinigami. Soon demons all over would learn to fear the Reaper, and that the last thing they would ever want to do is piss him off, because, may the gods have mercy on their souls, for he will not. Wave Mission, Maelstrom. A short pudgy man sat seemingly alone in a dark ornate throne room. He was Gato, the head of the Gato Shipping Company and local crime boss. His chunky face was seemingly twisted in deep thought for a moment before he glanced into the shadows. My lord, is it nearly time? He asked with a smirk. The shadows shifted slightly but no being could be seen, just a large abstract glob of pitch black. Yes, my minion, I believe it is best to attack a day early to throw them off guard since they seem to think we will be attacked tomorrow. That foolish blonde half-breed seems to think he has all the answers, but the brat will soon learn to never underestimate me, the Sin Lord of Greed, Gornik. While he is out training, I will send some of my minions to kill him while the main force attacks the bridge his human friends and the little vixen demon are guarding. It will be a glorious bloodbath. First your men will go into the attack and if need be I will join the attack with my forces. My only request is that the 2 human females be brought to me alive, virgin flesh and blood is so delightfully delicious. Gornak's vile rumbling voice said from the darkness. I understand, Gornak-sama, but how do you intend to fight the Hanyu? He is dangerous, look at what he did to the last group of demon soldiers we sent out. Gato reminded. Gornik let out a chilling laugh. Normal humans can take out pathetic creatures like shadow beasts. No, I have some special little pets for the Hanyu, some of the best monsters I could produce, they will rip him, tear him and feast upon his flesh. I shall have them devour all but his head, that will be a gift to the 2 human females he seems so fond of, before I have my fun with them. Isn't that right, my pretties? Several inhuman snarls and growls came from the shadows, as if they were agreeing with the demon lord. Excellent. Wave will soon be all mine and those worthless peasants will be your payment for the help. Though I do have one request, leave the bridge builder's daughter alive, she will make an excellent slave and I do so enjoy breaking in new ones. Gato said with a sick grin. Ha 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 ha. A human after my own black heart. Yes, I will give you that woman to play with. I shall enjoy listening to her screams as you break her spirit. Now my little pets, you have a job to do, find the Hanyu and rip the flesh from his bones. Gornik ordered. Several loud roars of approval sounded off as 4 large creatures shot out of the shadows and sped out of the hideout towards their prey. Gato picked up a small shortwave and held it up to his mouth. Tell the boys to get ready, we attack within the hour, today. Wave falls. Gato bellowed. Yes, Gato-sama, came the reply. Eerie and evil laughter filled the dark room as the vile plan was set into motion. Surely today would mark a great change. Zabuza, Kakashi, Haku, Sakura, Kyuubi and Sasuke were helping Tazuna at the bridge. Naruto thought it best if the group rested properly for one day before the attack. Both the older shinobi thought it was a sound idea as well, they would be no use in battle if they trained themselves into exhaustion beforehand. The only exception was Naruto due to his demonic stamina, he just didn't tire out or at least not nearly as easy as a human did. Naruto for his part wanted to go out and do some last-minute planning on his own and relax a bit, so he left about 20 shadow clones at Tazuna's house, each in henge, to guard over the place. One was even hanged to look like a small fox that was following Inari around as a personal guard. Naruto entered into a familiar clearing and sighed. It was getting close to the day that Gato was likely to attack, he was sure it would happen within the next day or 2 at most. But he was also getting antsy and he could sense something off. The forest was so quiet and peaceful, too quiet. The hair on his tail kept bristling out too, a sure sign that something was off. Had it not been for his previous years of experience he would be a bit freaked out by now, but time had taught him patience and given him an unnatural calm in most situations. Naruto stopped walking. He could sense a foul presence, several to be precise. Sniffing the air he could pick up the scent of blood and brimstone, demons. Several sudden chakra spikes could be felt in the distance as Kyuubi's voice entered his mind telling him they were under attack by Gato's army. Damn it. I was careless. I should have known the bastard would try to attack early. Naruto grumbled. Demon Arts, Level 1 Hanyu release. Naruto's chakra levels once again shot beyond human levels as all 9 of his tails appeared behind him. As this happened, 6 strange creatures stalked into the clearing. Monsters was the only way to properly describe these beasts. Two of them were mid-level demons called displacer beasts. They looked like black panthers, a bit larger, with 6 legs and 2 long tentacles on their backs. They had a nasty habit of becoming visible and invisible at random moments. Two were driders, high-level devil minions with the lower body of a spider and the upper body of a humanoid devil. They were exceptionally good fighters and very deadly. One was an Umberhulk, a high-level monster he could have done without. It looked like a giant bipedal cross between a stag beetle, a praying mantis and a cockroach. Its exoskeleton was extremely thick, but its brain power was that of a primitive beast, a nasty one at that, with brute strength to match his own. The last creature was another high-level devil minion known as a lich flare. Humanoid creatures with squid-like heads and tentacles surrounding mouths full of sharp teeth. This particular one was a lich, meaning it was undead, so it also reeked of rotting flesh and would have a taste for fresh flesh, especially brains. Grr. I don't have time for this. Naruto snarled. Guess I better end this quick. He went through several hand seals. Demon release. Final form. 9 tails unleash. Once again Naruto's body shifted into that of a fox-human hybrid. A were-fox. The ground beneath him ripping up from the tremendous amount of power he was letting off as his bones broke and reformed and his body adjusted to his new size and strength. His coat and shirt ripped off from his upper body and fell shredded to the ground, half burnt, as his massive clawed hands set aside his blades. With one final surge of power he let out an inhuman roar that nearly shook the heavens before hunching back down, feral crimson glowing eyes narrowed and ready for the attack. For those on the bridge, the situation wasn't much better. Gato had shown up with a literate army of thugs and brutes in front of him and a smaller army of monsters and demons behind him. Gornik was nowhere in sight, but they all knew the vile devil was there, just waiting to lash out. For his safety, Tazuna was sent away with a shadow clone to his house where Naruto's shadow clones could help protect him better and keep him out of the crossfire of such a large-scale battle. The older man had no problems getting the hell out of Dodge. All of the ninja on the bridge were in stances and ready to attack as a piercing roar sounded off in the distance, a roar that 3 of them knew all too well. Kyuubi smirked. Naruto was pissed and had let out that oh so wonderful were-fox form of his. Who or whatever was sent after him was in for a whole new dimension of pain. Sounds like Naruto-kun is starting without us. Can't let him have all the fun now, can we? Kyuubi asked, flexing her now long razor-sharp claws. Kakashi raised his forehead protector, revealing his Sharingan. Nope, he said in his usual dull tone. Sakura pulled out her bow as Haku pulled out several Senbon. Shall we do a bit of sniping, Haku-san? Sakura asked. Yes, I believe that would be the best approach with this many foes. She replied. Zabuza just let out a bloodthirsty chuckle and drew Kubikiri Haucho and settled into his stance as the Uchiha drew 2 kunai. Oi, Kakashi, whoever gets the most buys the drinks, what do ya say? Zabuza asked. Kakashi shrugged. Sounds good to me. Gato bristled at how nonchalant the ninja were being. Kill them all. Raze the village to the ground. Plunder, purge, rape, kill, destroy. He shouted with rage and an insane glint in his eyes as his troops shouted their approval and charged. Crass shhhh. Beast Naruto spat out a tentacle from one of the displacer beasts, its mangled body impaled through a tree. His tail shot out and wrapped around the lich flare. It was the next most dangerous creature there other than the Umberhulk whom he had sent skidding back from a hard punch. The hairs on his tail stiffened to the point they were like thousands of sharp needle blades. With a feral grin the tails twisted and unraveled quickly, each hair ripping and cutting into the rotting flesh of the lich flare. Naruto whirled around and caught the undead by the head with his claw and then savagely crushed its skull, sending out a large splatter of blood and fluids. He hurled the remains at the other displacer beast as it lunged at him. Naruto then pounced on the smaller 6-legged beast and grabbed it by its neck and hind legs. He let out another roar before literally ripping the poor creature in two, its guts spilling at his clawed feet. If one were to look, they could still see the heart making its last beats as the stomach and intestines squirmed and pulsed a bit. The Driders backed off a bit as a sudden notion of fear washed over them. However, they were not to escape their fate. The large werfox charged at them on all fours and lunged at the nearest one, his glowing crimson eyes showing no signs of any sort of humanity any longer, only primal rage. The Drider let out a howl of pain as the werfox's jaws clamped down on his left shoulder like a vice, its razor-sharp teeth sinking into its flesh and crushing its bones. With a savage jerk of the neck, the Drider was forever relieved of his left arm as it now hung limp from the werfox's jaw. Crimson blood flowed like water from the gaping wound as the nine-tailed beast spat out the arm, licking its chops of the blood, its tails flailing behind him in an almost joyful manner. The wounded Drider staggered back, but not before a furry clawed hand made its way around his neck, clamping down tightly and cutting off all airflow. The spider-like demon felt like its head was going to pop like a zit, and then darkness. The werfox had ripped the head and spine out of the Drider, killing it instantly. Seeing his partner killed in such a ruthless manner, the other Drider decided to flee. It was clear to it that this thing had earned his title as the new nine-tailed lord. Unfortunately for it, it ran right into the irritated Umberhulk, whose answer was to literally bite off the Drider's head and devour it. After enjoying its light snack, the Umberhulk tossed aside the Drider corpse and decided to go after its main course of fox. Said werfox just gave the Umberhulk a look that said, "The bigger the bug, the louder the crack and the larger the splat." Had the Umberhulk had any actual common sense, it would have ran in the other direction. Sadly, such creatures were mindless primal killing machines and real stupid to boot. The giant bug let out a roar and charged its next meal. Beast Naruto grinned, baring all of his razor-sharp teeth. Pathetic creature. The werfox rumbled out. The beast attempted to clamp its mandibles around Naruto's large fox-like head, only to have them caught by two large furry-clawed hands. Part of Naruto really wished he had an economy-sized can of Raid. This was one big damn bug. However, Krurak. CRRRUUUNNNCCCHHH. One Umberhulk minus a pair of mandibles equals one ugly critter in a lot of pain and even more trouble. Naruto delivered a shattering blow to its carapace, causing it to crack in several spots and the beast to hack up a stream of smelly purple blood. The werfox wasted no time and began raining blows down upon the large bipedal insect with the force of a hydraulic jackhammer. The Umberhulk was outclassed and overpowered in this situation, but it was too stupid to even think of fleeing. Like any other insect, it continued to try and get its meal despite getting the beeswax kicked out of it. Naruto slammed the beast down on the ground hard enough to make the ground shake from the hit. He jumped on the prone monster's back, cracking its shell again, and raised his massive clawed fist over its head. "They check in, but they don't check out," Beast Naruto roared. SPLLLAAATTTT. "Damn, I'm not cleaning that up." Naruto snarled, scrunching up his nose at the foul smell of the Umberhulk's head fluids and brains, which were splattered out in all directions. "Now, time for the real fun to begin," he growled as his red eyes flashed. With that, Naruto got down on all fours, grabbed his swords and took off in a dead run towards the bridge, ripping up the forest floor beneath his claws. Ice release 1000 ice needles. Haku barked as a rain of ice needles showered down upon the advancing group of hired thugs. Kyuubi, Kakashi and Zabuza were busy in heated taijutsu or kenjutsu fights with some of the better thugs. Sasuke had nearly exhausted his chakra, so he was going straight taijutsu as well, armed with his two kunai. Sakura was giving off continual fire from her chakra bow. Zabuza cleaved another thug in two, panting from the effort as bodies lay all around them. "Damn it. There's no end to these bastards," he growled. Kakashi just leapt back and began doing hand seals. "How about I give us some elbow room?" Fire release. Fire dragon missile jutsu. Several large dragon-shaped fire balls tore through the humans but were deflected by the oncoming demon troops. Gato was standing smugly on the other side of the bridge as the large blue-skinned form of Gornik appeared next to him. Both laughing as Gornik ordered his Drider archers to let loose a barrage while the salamanders offered support fire. Sakura attempted to raise a barrier, but she didn't have enough chakra to cover the all well, so several stray arrows or fireballs hit them, thankfully not in any vital spots. Kyuubi cursed. If she tried to use her fox form, she might step on one of her friends. If she used any of her large attacks, she could blow the whole bridge to Tartarus. Now, press the attack and slaughter them. Gato screamed. That would have been a good plan, except for one little catch in the shape of a large, very pissed off, humanoid fox landing between the ninja and the attackers. The werfox let out a piercing roar that scared the shit out of the attacking humans and made most of the demons wary. Gato actually wet himself at the sight of Naruto while Gornik looked amused. Kyuubi smirked and crossed her arms. You guys just lost. There's no way you can beat 2 Hanyu and 5 trained ninja. Naruto reverted to his Hanyu form and attached his swords back to his belt. Sorry it took me so long, guys. I had a bit of an infestation to take care of first. Naruto said, his eyes narrowing at Gornik. He knew he couldn't screw around with these guys, he wouldn't put his friends in danger like that. Well, looks like I have to reveal my final trump card a bit early. Guys, stand back. Naruto said sternly. The ninja all looked at each other but knew from his tone of voice he wasn't messing around. Nodding, they all put a bit of distance between them and him as Naruto began going through a few hand seals. He held out his right hand as black flames began leaking out of the tattoo on his arm. Reap through all. Soul Edge. In a flare of demonic fire, the scythe appeared in his hand, causing his friends to gasp a bit. Just how many weapons did he have? Soul Release. Avatar of Shinigami. Demonic Reaper Ascend. Naruto snapped. Once again, Naruto's body and muscle mass began to grow, but only slightly compared to his werfox form, topping off at about 6 feet 9 inches. His skin darkened to a charcoal gray color and was littered with gold and silver tribal and Celtic runes. His tail lengthened and burst into black and purple fire. Blood spurted from a sudden slit on his forehead as a golden-colored eye opened with a silver pupil. It was a devil eye called the Jagan, giving him the ability to see into souls, judge them and torture them if he so wishes it. It held a number of nasty little things that it could do. Such as its doom gaze. A pair of horns sprouted out from the sides of his head and curved back as his hair turned a metallic silver color. 4 bursts of black and purple flames shot out from his back, incinerating the blood spattering, and was followed by a flurry of black feathers with silver highlights and gold feathers with crimson highlights. A pair of black feathered wings hooped out from his upper back while the golden feathered wings stretched out from his mid to lower back. Finally he opened his eyes. Black had replaced the whites of his eyes, his retina now deep purple and his slit pupils pulsing crimson. His Reaper garb appeared on him along with the chains. His wings spread out wide before folding behind him as he rested Soul Edge on his shoulder. The pressure from his power alone was enough to choke even the demons in the attacking force. Kakashi and Zabuza shivered slightly. He looked like the legendary Angel of Death. It never crossed their minds that that was exactly what he was right now. Haku and Sakura were stunned but not afraid. Kyuubi just had a smug look on her face. Sasuke passed out from the pressure. This is the power bestowed upon me by Shinigami-sama himself. It is my job to send tainted souls to him to meet their final judgment, demon or otherwise. I am his avatar. Naruto's demonic voice echoed through the area. Shit. I'm not getting paid enough for this. One of the thugs gulped. Naruto glared at the man, his Jagan narrowing. Know this, your souls are tainted with the blood and suffering of the innocent. None of you will leave this bridge alive. The Jagan widened as a beam of energy shot out of it and entered the Mont's head. He began screaming and foaming at the mouth until his skull swelled and popped like a flesh balloon. Heh, 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 pretty parlor trick half-breed, but it'll take more than a pathetic trick like that to harm a Sin Lord. Gornik said, amused, and motioned for his troops to advance. The various demons and monsters surrounded Naruto. he made a hand motion to tell his friends to stay put. Considering this turn of events, none of them were willing to risk getting caught in the crossfire between a Sin Lord and a demonic Reaper. The word suicide wouldn't even describe it. Reaper Naruto twirled his scythe like a staff and then settled into a stance, the chains on his chest snaking and twisting down his arms on his mental command. His three eyes looking around at the foes surrounding him, his face set like stone in hard determination but otherwise showing no emotion. You do not know who you are fucking with, Naruto warned. All remained still and silent until one of the human thugs swallowed hard. Naruto's form blurred and faded from sight. A second later, 6 of the Drider infantry fell over, split in two, dead before they even knew what happened. Naruto reappeared above them, massive wings spread out as torrents of chakra and other energy swirled and spiraled around him. A ghostly figure shimmered in behind Naruto, the form of the death god. Shinigami himself had come to watch his avatar in person. Shinigami raised a clawed hand and snapped his fingers. A wall of black fire surrounded the bridge on all sides, even on the waters below. There would be no escape now. Shinigami then pointed the Gato with a evil grin on his features. Naruto smirked with a nod. Gato, for your crimes against the innocent, guilty. Your sentence: first you must watch as all your troops fall, your sick plans shatter, and then, my master has business with you. Apparently greedy souls like yours taste quite good this time of year. Naruto held out a hand as water and wind began swirling around it. Ice prison. This and sharp shards of ice erupted from the ground around Gato and caged in the whimpering fat man. He would have tried begging for mercy, but he was far too frightened to make anything more than a pathetic whimper. Gornik chuckled. Such a pathetic little mortal. Now come, Reaper, let me see your so-called power. Gornik snapped his fingers and all the fallen humans began rotting and decaying at an accelerated rate as they stood back up. The zombies were then forced to merge into a large pile of festering flesh and bone until one large being was created. It was roughly 30 feet tall and resembled a giant skeleton with an inhuman skull. A large club of bone was in one hand and the other arm was a massive blade formed of bone. This is but one of my wonderful powers. I take the flesh and bone of the fallen and use them to create my lovely little pets. I think I'll call this one Bone Beast. Gornik said. You call that little? Naruto muttered dryly. Q. Got a new chew toy for ya. Rip Bone Head apart for me, would you? I'll put a barrier on our friends. Kyuubi grinned. Now things are gonna get real fun. Naruto channeled his power and raised a crimson crystal-like construct around his friends made of pure demonic chakra. It was a barrier strong enough that only he or another 9-tailed beast could shatter it. At the same time, Kyuubi unleashed her power and took the form of a very large 6-tailed crimson-furred fox. Because she was Naruto's mate and she still had tails, she was technically a Biju, meaning her power, while not what it used to be, was still no slouch and more than the current Rokubi. Kyuubi and Bone Beast clashed as she flung him to a safer area near the black fire barrier Shinigami had put up. She didn't need their fight to destroy the bridge. Naruto looked down at the remaining monsters and human thugs. There were too many for him to just pick off one at a time considering the limited space of the bridge. Also, a high-powered jutsu would get rid of them, but it would destroy the bridge in the process. He also had to fight Gornik. This form was powerful, probably more than his 9-tailed form, but his body hadn't adjusted to using it for long periods of time yet, so it did drain him a bit. All power comes at a price. The price for his Reaper power was severe power drain, even with near limitless chakra. If it were to pull too much and he ran out of chakra, it would start eating his soul energy, and as soon as that was gone, he'd fade into nothingness, his soul gone and his body turned to dust. Thankfully, he shouldn't have to worry about that unless he was fighting some kind of all-powerful dark god or something. He glanced over to Kyuubi. Her battle was going well. A monster like that was really nothing more than a giant undead puppet and she was easily tearing it apart. Exhaling a deep breath, Naruto began his preparations. The clouds above him turned dark gray as thunder began to rumble. Lightning flashed as the winds began to pick up and rain began to fall in a steady downpour. Holding out his scythe, it ignited with black flames. He began twirling it at such a rate of speed that it turned into a large fiery black disc. Reaper Arts, Hellfire Chakram. Naruto barked and flung the ignited soul edge at the group of monsters. He then went through a series of odd hand seals, running on pure instinct alone, as his tail flared and the feathers on his wings stiffened into razor blades. Some of the chains on his body sunk into his flesh and fused with his body. His power levels spiked again as black chains made of a strange organic metal-like bone with barbed spikes on the ends tore out of his arms and began attacking the opposing forces while Soul Edge sliced through the others. Reaper Arts, Chains of the Fated. Naruto snapped and slowly descended to the ground as his chains continued to attack, impale and slice his enemies to death. Soul Edge returned to him, but instead of going to his hand, it hovered a few feet from him to give him all the room he and his chains needed. Shinigami smirked from his spot watching. This boy, his potential was limitless. To have this level of control of his Reaper form and powers on only the second time, such a feat should be impossible. He was even able to use Kami's gifts of the second wings and chains. He wondered, could that have been all that she had given his avatar when she planted that kiss on him when they met in the bardo? Kakashi-sensei, did you know he was this powerful in Reaper form? Sakura asked, a bit scared and awed at the same time. No. Until now I have never seen this form. Hey, how did you know about it? He countered. Q-chan told me, she answered. But how can he channel that much power through his body? Wouldn't it kill him? Zabuza asked, wincing as one of Naruto's chains splattered a thug's head like a melon. Who knows? He's the nine-tailed lord and the avatar of Shinigami. I'm guessing the normal limitations don't apply to someone like him. He's never been what one could call normal though, and that's what makes him who he is. He has the power of a god, but he doesn't flaunt it in favor of living as much a normal life as he can. Kakashi said. It's more than that, sensei. He wants to protect those he cares for, no matter the cost. He failed the first time because of circumstances beyond his control, but now nothing can stop him from doing what he needs to do, and anything that tries will face what we are seeing now. Sakura said softly. Haku remained silent and was joined by the others as they watched Naruto literally turn into a one-man army. Blood, body parts and bodies littered the area as he continued to rip through all the enemies. No humans were left, all of Gato's men had fallen and only a few monsters were left. Even Kyuubi had finished with the bone beast, it lay in broken shards on the other side of the bridge. Both Sakura and Haku looked over all the carnage. Was this Naruto's true nature, or was the kind and gentle person they knew his true self? It was hard to say, perhaps he was both. But looking at him now, the cold look in his eyes, the malicious sneer on his lips, the way his teeth are gritted in rage, it was scary. He could kill in such a brutal manner and not even so much a flinch. When he killed the monsters and demons though, it was almost like he enjoyed it. Is it always going to be like this? I hope not. I'm not sure I could handle so much death and destruction. I really love him, but he scares me when he's like this. Sakura thought as the final demon minion fell to Naruto's blood-drenched hands. Shriek the lips. Across a ragged tongue. Convulsing together. Sing violently. Move the jaw. Cry out loud. Bound up the dead. Triumphantly. Naruto walked over to the ice cage holding the terrified Gato as Shinigami hovered down behind him. Naruto glared at the cowardly criminal. For all the pain you have caused the innocent. I hope you enjoy your eternity. Gato. Naruto growled and swung his scythe sharply. Soul Edge tore through the ice and Gato's body like a hot knife through butter. His soul caught on the edge of the blade as his body fell to the ground in two pieces. Shinigami grinned and grabbed the screaming man as a black portal opened behind him. As they vanished, Gato's screams were still echoing through the area. Naruto turned to see Gornik clapping his clawed hands with an evil grin. Well done, half-breed, it appears you a bit stronger than I had first thought, but haven't you nearly reached your limit, You're sweating and your power levels are starting to weaken, such a pity. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Damn it. Using both my nine-tailed form and Reaper form within a few hours' time has drained a lot of my chakra. If this keeps up, I'll burn through my own soul. I have to kill this bastard quickly. I can't let him harm anyone else. Naruto thought. It was true, his power expenditure had drained half of his reserves. The longer he stayed in Reaper form, the more of his chakra and eventually life force and soul energy would be consumed. If he ran out of chakra before that, well, he really didn't want to think about it. Granted, his forms had a fail-safe. When his power levels dropped to low, he would revert to human form. But he could cancel that out if he needed to. He almost had to laugh. Everyone thought Kyuubi's chakra was infinite, and in turn his was as well. That was bullshit. 9 tails worth of chakra was indeed massive. Enough to equal all 3 Sannin and all the cages combined and surpass them, but it wasn't limitless. No, the secret was super fast chakra regeneration. Mid to high jutsu cost could regenerate within a minute or so, but his specialized and really high-powered jutsu took so much that it halted the regeneration process for a little bit from the strain on his system. Assuming his 9-tailed form and Reaper form required a steady and modest drain on his chakra, also halting his chakra regeneration. Meaning any jutsu he used in either form wasn't replenished and his chakra was still being drained slowly, the price for being half human, one might say. It wouldn't always be like that though. Once he gained his immortality, he would gain an incredible boost in power, likely negating the prices he pays now. Well, it looks like it's just you and me, Gornik. Shall we fight, or are you so afraid that you resort to petty mind games? Naruto asked with a smirk. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Stir the limbs across the wrist. Full possession of memory. Bury me as a dog. Icy hands surrounding me. Gornik let out another vile chuckle. Well then, it is time for me to play. Now I shall show you true power. Gornak's body was engulfed by a torrent of tainted purple energy as it began growing in size. 2 massive demonic wings stretched out from the energy. His body grew to about 10 feet tall as his skin turned a brighter shade of red with green veins pulsing under his skin. 2 massive horns grew out as his face took on the appearance of a mixed wolf and alligator. This was Gornak's true form. His glowing lurid purple eyes glared down at the Reaper before him. The amount of power and killing intent mixed with bloodlust in the area was enough to suffocate even the most experienced shinobi. Naruto was smart enough to be very wary of this foe, but there was no way he was going to back down, not now, not ever. Even if he had to burn his own soul to ash, he would stop this bastard dead in his tracks. Having this much power, it's a burden, isn't it, half-breed? Gornik asked with a sneer. Naruto's face hardened further as his eyes narrowed and he began summoning all the power he had left. The only burden around here is having to listen to you spout shit all day. Just because I'm a little lower on chakra doesn't mean that I'm a pushover, don't underestimate me. Naruto growled. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Heh, 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 think what you like, half-breed, but unlike me, your power has a limit. Gornik taunted and leered over at Kyuubi, who was growling at him. He let his twisted grin widen as his tail lashed out and snared her around the neck. You seem attached to this one, brat, too bad she is not a virgin, then the taste would be so much better. No sooner did the words leave Gornak's mouth did he find a very, very irate demon Reaper cleaving his tail in two. But that isn't what shook him and everyone else there up, it was what Naruto had become. The usual red and blue chakra that surrounded him had vanished to be replaced with black and purple flames. Chains of black hellfire were twisting and writhing all around him, his wings spread out and the feathers ruffled in a dangerous manner. Soul Edge had somehow gotten longer and bigger, the blade now consumed in black and purple fire just like its master. Kyuubi's eyes went wide in fear. This killing intent, this bloodlust, she knew it all too well. In Naruto's past life, when she had still been within the seal, he had hit this level once before. It made him a monster, a true devil. She remembered the aftermath. Iwa had been turned to rubble and every person within the hidden village, civilian or not, had been slaughtered without mercy. To think he would push to this state as a reaper. Kyuubi leapt away from Naruto and towards the others, adding another barrier to the one Naruto placed, and hoped it would be enough if Naruto unleashed any large-scale attacks. Naruto let out a cold, mirthless chuckle that even sent a shiver down Gornak's spine. If the Sin Lord didn't know better, this half-breed brat was becoming more of a demon by the second, a very pissed-off one to boot. My little friend, it calls. Naruto muttered darkly. For your blood, your fear, your death. Shrieked the lips. Across a ragged tongue. Convulsing together. Sing violently. Move the jaw. Cry out loud. Bound up the dead. Triumphantly. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Gornak cringed. Scenes of his own death by ripping and brutal dismemberment as the demonic reaper laughed viciously played before his own eyes. 4 flaming chains tore out from behind Naruto with blinding speeds as they impaled Gornak's wrists and ankles and then wrapped tightly around them, scorching his flesh with hellfire. Another chain appeared and wrapped around his neck as the Sin Lord was forcibly lifted off the ground and forced into a spread eagle position midair by the chains, just a few feet in front of Naruto. A fang-filled grin crossed Naruto's face as he pulled back his fist and plowed it into the Sin Lord's gut with enough force that the flesh on his back bulged out from the impact. The Jagan Eye was glaring balefully at Gornak. Using its power, Naruto searched through the demon's mind and found all of his victims and then used the Jagan to turn their suffering back onto the one who caused it. Gornak could only scream and howl in horror and pain as Naruto continued his torturous assault on both body and mind at once. For your crimes, you are found guilty. I will deliver to you your punishment. Look into my eyes, feel the suffering you have caused others as your body is torn to the 4 winds. Naruto said darkly. All 3 of Reaper Naruto's eyes turned bloody crimson as flames seemed to swirl within them. Gornak let loose an inhuman howl of terror as all of his own horrible power was turned back on himself. All the pain and suffering he had caused over the centuries he was now forced to endure 100-fold. His arms and legs were savagely ripped from his body by the Naruto's flaming chains. The only one remaining was the one around his neck. End game. Naruto growled and used his chain to fling Gornak's screaming form up into the air as the fires around him grew more intense. Red and blue chakra once again joined in and mixed with the black and purple fire as Naruto went through a series of unknown hand seals. As soon as Naruto finished the seals, he took a stance with his wings back and hands to the side. The energies roaring around his body channeled into his hands as a swirling orb of mixed energy formed in the space between his hands. The ground shook, thunder cracked and lightning flashed as the waters beneath the bridge churned violently. Naruto shoved his hands forward. Omega Art. Dead Soul Destruction Wave. A massive beam of black, red, purple and blue energy shot from Naruto's hands, piercing the air like a bullet through flesh. Ripples in the air were visible as the roaring sound of dying oxygen molecules filled the air with the deep roaring of the energy tearing through it. The beam impacted with Gornak. His screams were silenced as his demonic body was vaporized within seconds of impact. The beam continued to travel into the sky, boring a massive hole in the dark clouds that had gathered, until it vanished. Only a slight twinkling light in the sky remained as a reminder of the powerful attack. The barrier surrounding Naruto's friends vanished. None of them could believe what they had just seen. An attack like that, holding that amount of raw power had the potential to obliterate anything within a 1,000-mile radius of the impact point if it were to hit ground. They watched still in stunned silence as Naruto reverted back to his usual form, soul edge returning to its place in his seal tattoo. He looked at them and saw that they were all okay. They noticed a relieved look cross his features before he fell over face first onto the bridge. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Shinigami and Kami sighed as they watched Naruto's friends rush over to him and check him over via a viewing pool. That boy, he has more potential than I had thought. To think he can use one of my ultimate attacks and survive the backlash of using it, truly amazing. Shinigami said with a hint of pride. Indeed, and his power will only grow with each battle. Each brush with death he has. The time will come one day when he unlocks the last gift I gave him that time we met in the bardo. But he will have to learn to gain control of berserker state he seems to go into. Only by having total control over his emotions will he attain his full power and potential. He nearly lost control of his rage today when Kyuubi was threatened. I shudder to think what would have happened had she been harmed. Kami stated. Shinigami nodded. Give it time, he is getting better at controlling his emotions. When the time comes, I am sure he will do us all proud. 3 days later. Many people had been shaken up by the events of the battle on the bridge. The ninja couldn't really blame them. It wasn't every day that one encounters a being with the powers of both a demon and a god of death. After the initial shock was gone, many of the people realized that while Naruto was indeed something to be feared, he wasn't evil. None of them could fault his actions in the long run, and he had fought hard to protect not only his comrades but the whole of Wave as well. Zabuza, Kakashi and a rather sulky Sasuke took care of the mass of dead bodies on the bridge so Tazuna could finish it. The bridge itself had nearly been finished when Gato and Gornik launched their attack, so aside of some cleanup and some finishing work, the bridge was completed successfully within 2 days of the attack. Tsunami and Inari were beyond impressed and grateful for what the ninja had done for them. Inari now viewed Naruto as the greatest hero to ever live. He also thought Naruto's powers were the coolest thing he'd ever seen. Q had chuckled at the boy's obvious hero worship. Naruto was still in a state of stasis sleep. Sometime during his battle he had unlocked a few powers. Mainly the chains and runic seals in the shape of wings had appeared on his back. As such, his body needed to properly adjust to new powers and abilities. Also, because of the prolonged length Naruto spent in his Reaper form, his body adjusted more properly to that as well, meaning his chakra reserves had grown and condensed more than they had been, and his rate of chakra restoration had nearly doubled in speed. Much to Kakashi's and Zabuza's amusement, it wasn't uncommon to see Q, Sakura or Haku fussing over the sleeping Hanyu. In fact, all 3 of the girls slept with him at night, or rather in the same room. Q would curl up with him in her chibi fox form, while Sakura and Haku had futons near his bed, citing that they needed to be nearby in case he needed anything, even though he had healed completely from the few wounds he had gotten in the fight. The only person who wasn't happy about the mission success was the ever-brooding Sasuke Uchiha, who fervently believed that Naruto had stolen power that should have rightfully been his, as well as the glory of a battle he alone should have won. His petty little mind never even considered the fact that Gornik would have eaten him for a light appetizer had he even tried to take on the Sin Lord. Naruto woke early on the morning of the 4th day. Blearily he looked around the empty room he was in. He did arch an eyebrow at the sight of the 2 folded futons next to the bed. Yawning, he got out of bed and stretched. Several of his bones gave a satisfying crack as they popped back in place. He hissed with relief. Huh. Q-chan or Sakura-chan must have gotten some fresh clothes for me. Naruto mused as he picked up the new clothes sitting next to Griever and Beowulf on the chair at the foot of his bed. The clothes were obviously civilian-made. A simple pair of traveler's boots, pants and a sleeveless tunic vest and a simple black cloak. Luckily all of his tools were kept in scrolls in his utility belts or holsters on his legs, which were also sitting there awaiting him to put them on. He quickly got dressed in his new clothes. He figured his old ones were likely screwed up beyond repair during the fight with Gornik. Not that it really mattered, he had plenty of good work clothes waiting for him back at home. Securing his blades on his belt with well-practiced ease, he went over to the door and walked out of the room and turned down the hall towards the bathing room. He was sure he'd need a good cleaning. As he approached the door, he checked to see if the occupied sign was out. It wasn't, so he figured he was good to go. Placing the sign out and getting undressed, he quickly bathed himself and took a short soak in the tub before redressing and walking to the nearby window in the hall. Not really feeling like talking to anyone at the moment, he opened the window and jumped out, then made his way towards the woods to stretch his legs and work out the kinks for too much sleep. Naruto-sama is gone, Haku said, a bit distressed as she ran back down into the first floor. The others, minus Sasuke, who was out on patrol, looked shocked and some a bit worried. Wah, but I thought he was still sleeping, Sakura asked worriedly. Kyuubi sighed. No, he woke up a little while ago. His mind isn't in the best of places right now. He even locked me out from his end of the telepathic link. He gets like this after large battles where he's forced to take a bunch of lives. She frowned and decided to explain further. You see, the human part of Naruto isn't really fond of killing. He does it because he has to in order to protect others or do his job, but he dislikes taking lives if it can be avoided. On the other hand, his demon, or rather his primal side, gets a thrill out of it. And enjoys it immensely. The problem with demons, even if they aren't evil or half-blooded like I am now myself, is that we enjoy the taste of blood. Perhaps a bit too much. We enjoy fighting, and we especially enjoy destroying things or beings that make us angry or go against our natures. For Naruto-kun and myself, Gato, Gornik and their little army were all polar opposites of what we are, and their natures clashed with our own, making them all targets and prey. I nearly went into a berserker frenzy when Gornik brought out those nightbreeds and other demons myself. Had Naruto-kun on the other hand did for a short time with Gornik, you saw the results. He is ashamed because he enjoyed doing what he did to that Sin Lord. He enjoys killing evil demons and sometimes people. It allows him to vent certain frustrations and rages he has obtained over the years. You could say it was one of his few flaws. He isn't upset he killed those brigands and monsters, but he is ashamed that you saw that side of him. Sakura-chan and Haku-chan know what I am talking about, as do you, Kakashi-san. Despite how well he hides it, he does still have his insecurities. Kyuubi explained. Kakashi sighed. I can relate. Even after all my years as a shinobi, I still don't like to kill when I don't have to. I still remember my first kill. I couldn't eat for almost a week without puking. I won't pretend to know what having to deal with demonic bloodlust is like, but I am sure it isn't something any of us would like to deal with. That is something I can relate to myself. Zabuza stated grimly. I was raised as a weapon and often succumbed to bloodlust when I was younger. I didn't really get much control over those darker urges until I grew older and realized just how wrong some things were. Part of me still enjoys killing or the thrill of a good hunt, but I don't let it rule my life anymore. Naruto-san's a good kid with a level head and strong heart. He'll be fine. This isn't his first time killing. He told me about what he did to the root Anbu. He didn't like it but considered it a necessary evil. In truth, all of the ninja present knew of Naruto's unique circumstances. Kyuubi and Sakura had explained it to Haku shortly after the gruesome battle on the bridge. Mainly because they had to explain how he became the avatar for Shinigami. Zabuza had been told earlier than that by Naruto, and Kakashi had confirmed the story. Normally the former Mist Nin would have thought it a load of crap, but then again it did explain a lot of things, particularly why Naruto held an air of maturity about him and why his eyes seemed older than he was physically. That, and it was common knowledge that the memory viewing jutsu couldn't be faked, nor did it lie. Needless to say, the demon of the mists was very grateful that Naruto saw it fit to save his skin rather than let him die like he had in the previous timeline. The only people who didn't really understand what was going on was Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari, though they didn't really care either. To them Naruto was the hero of Wave. Tazuna was even going to name his bridge after him to honor all that he did for his people in their time of need. Naruto's a strong one. He'll be back once he gets his head cleared, Kakashi said and returned to his book. Sasuke Uchiha found himself walking through the seedier part of Wave, his cold black eyes scanning the area for any possible threats as his perpetual scowl remained fixed on his features. Why? Why does the Dobe have so much power? I should have that power. I am the one who needs it. I am the one who has suffered and lost. I need power. I must have power to get my vengeance, to kill him, them. But how can I kill Naruto now? He's too damn powerful and he's working for Shinigami. If only I could rip that power from him and make it my own, then nothing, no one could stand against me. He turned down a dark alleyway as his own brooding thoughts went to darker and darker areas of his slowly twisting mind. You crave power, do you, child? A eerily silky voice asked from the shadows of the dark alley. Sasuke stopped, drew a kunai and went into a stance. Show yourself, she snapped. In time, Sasuke-kun, in time. The voice said silkily. Now answer me, do you seek and crave power? A sudden surge of killing intent filled the area. It was so vile and twisted that it made Sasuke's skin crawl. The power behind this killing intent, it was amazing, and intoxicating. He was having trouble breathing as the pressure continued to rise. It felt much like Naruto's, but different at the same time. Perhaps it was evil that he felt. This, Sasuke-kun, is but a sample of the power I can give you. Tell me, do you seek such power? The voice asked again. Why yes, I need this power. I need to kill them, the ones who have wronged me. I crave vengeance, Sasuke screamed. Kukukukuku. Came the chilling laugh. Excellent. If you agree to my terms, I will grant you this power you seek and help you seek your revenge. What are the terms? Sasuke asked, struggling to regain his composure. I can't tell you all of it yet. The walls can hear and see when you least expect them. Just let it be known that I seek the nine-tailed brat myself. He is paramount for my plans. The demon will make excellent material for my experiments. My minion in Konoha will contact you again shortly after you return. I must take my leave now, Sasuke-kun. Remember, I can give you the power you need to reach your ambitions. Until then. The voice chuckled darkly and seemed to vanish into the darkness as a scroll rolled out to the Uchiha's feet. Sasuke picked up the scroll and opened it. A dark smirk crossed his features. The scroll was filled with quite a few useful and powerful jutsu he could use. The one called Hidden Snake Hand looked interesting. With this, I am one step closer to my revenge. Once I've killed Itachi, his eyes will be mine and I'll reclaim what was stolen from me by that damn demon. Naruto, just wait. In time I will become more powerful than you, then I will make you beg for death at my feet after I have destroyed your happiness. It's just a matter of time. Sasuke chuckled to himself darkly and placed his new scroll in his pouch as he walked out of the alley. Crass shhhhh. Bang. Crrrruunnncchh. Crack. Boom mmm. Naruto relaxed his stance as two trees fell over in splinters and the large boulder he had been training on shattered into small pieces. He let out a sigh and cracked his knuckles. Seems I'm back to full power again. Hey, training is kinda therapeutic. He smirked and then frowned. Still, I need to stop depending on my demon and reaper powers so much. I'm letting my skills slip. He sat down and pulled out a bamboo canteen and took a long drink of the water it contained as he began thinking and planning to himself. It won't be long now until the Chunin exams and I'm damn sure the hubby Tem will show up. I'm also sure the prick knows about me and the emo Tem by now, though I don't know how or if it will change his plans. The Sharingan isn't completely lost either. There's a good chance that if the Tem gets a cursed seal it will repair what I did, then the only option left is to kill him. I'm also betting that the hubby Tem is going to try something against me as well. The bastards know better than his namesake and that eight-headed, eight-tailed prick is more trouble than it's worth. I've also got to do something about Gaara. I'd rather have him as an ally this time. It'll give us a better chance of protecting Ji-san from the snake. Guess I'll have to talk to Shukaku. Hey, if push comes to shove, I'll make that miserable Tanuki do what I need it to do. I can't extract the insane, sand-logged, fur ball or that crazy priest without killing Gaara. Maybe the priest, but Shukaku has been there too long and bound by the seal. The crazed priest is just a secondary soul and can easily be reaped. I guess the only thing I can truly do is turn Gaara into a Hanyu by destroying Shukaku and giving Gaara his power. A simple task, and I'll be glad to be rid of that damn Tanuki sooner than later. I'll also have to seek out Yugito one of these days too. Nibi will be willing to help since she cares for her container's well-being. That will leave me with a few better options than what I got with Shukaku. He silently mused. Ryo, for your thoughts, dear? Kyubi asked as she landed next to him. HNN. Oh, hey Q-chan. Naruto greeted. I was just planning a few things ahead. It's getting close to the Chunin exams and you know what that means. Kyubi nodded and sighed. Hubby Tem will try to pull something and then the Akatsuki will pop up not long after. Then there's Gaara that we need to attend to as well. I pretty much know how I'm going to handle Gaara. I still want him as my friend after all. Shukaku is going to be destroyed and Gaara will hopefully agree to take his place. If things go like last time, then I'm pretty sure Konohamaru will set the whole thing up. Naruto said. As for Orochimaru, he's going to be more difficult to deal with, especially since Kabuto hasn't been seen much in Konoha. I'm pretty sure he will try to attack with Suna again like he did last time, and I think Emotem will still be a target, but I'm pretty sure I will be too. Too bad for him, my body is immune to those mutated enzymes he injects when he places a cursed seal. My blood will purge them, and being a seal master I can break the seal even if he does figure out a way to make one stick. Naruto added. Kyubi frowned. Let's hope he doesn't get you. The last time it happened you went on a rampage because the enzymes had horribly tainted demonic chakra laced into them. You leveled 3/4 of Odo by yourself and almost slaughtered civilians in the process. Yeah, not one of my better moments, huh? Naruto mused dryly. Still, I only had 6 tails when that happened and you were still sealed in me. Now I have 9 tails and Reaper powers. That alone is enough to negate the effects of a cursed seal, though it's likely to still have a couple of problems if the Tem manages to get me with one. I will need rest to recharge my energies after purging it, and there is a slight chance of going berserker, but I should have partial control if that does happen. Am I still going to act as a guard for the old man while you're taking the test? Kyubi asked. I would still rather be in there with you, you know. I know, Q-chan, but Ji-san will need someone to guard him since Ero Sennin will likely be peeping and Ba-chan will probably be getting drunk or gambling. Besides, if memory serves correctly, most of the ninja are going to be very busy during that time, and I'll need someone on the outside I can trust with no actual commitments to keep an eye on things. I'd like to keep Hyatt-san from getting murdered this time too, but that won't happen until the second part of the exam is done. I know, at least I'll be able to use telepathy to speak with you when I need to. She grumbled. I can't wait until Orochimaru and the Akatsuki are gone, then we can get on with our lives and not have to worry so damn much. It'll happen, for all of us. The only ones I'm really worried about is Madara and Pian. With their ultimate Magankyo Sharingan and Rinnegan, and Pian's 6 damn bodies. My Omnigan will be able to give me an edge over their Dujutsu, though I might have to forego using my Reaper form against them since I can't access my Omnigan in that form, and I don't know if the Jagan will be of much use against them. At least this time around I'll know what to expect of those bastards in battle though, so it won't be so bad. Naruto smirked. Kyubi arched an eyebrow. Oh, and I do hope you don't think you'll be facing those monsters alone, dear. Naruto knew that tone. It was sickeningly sweet and pure evil, and he had no desire to sleep on the couch for the next couple of months. You know I won't do that. That's why I am training the girls, and I know you can hold your own. Naruto frowned. The only part that is bothering me is that, well, in order for me to be absolutely sure they are properly protected, they will need some of my power, you know what that means. I don't want to push something like that though. I want things to come naturally. Kyuubi chuckled. I doubt you'll have to worry much. The girls are legal adults now, and if the pheromones they produce being around you is any clue, I think I'll have a few sisters soon enough, including Haku-chan. She said smugly. Naruto's sweat dropped. Isn't it a bit early for that? She hardly knows me. Kyuubi shook her head and smiled. Don't be so clueless, Naruto-kun. When a girl finds what she wants, she doesn't screw around in obtaining it. Haku-chan likes you a lot. She already knows about your secret. I talked to her with Sakura. I am sure it won't be long before she starts giving out hints to what she wants. We like her, so if you would like her to become a member of your clan, then by all means add her. I'm sure Hinata-chan and Hanabi-chan would agree as well. Maybe, but Ino-chan and Tenten-chan might not be so willing. They can get kinda possessive, and Tenten-chan's got all those painful pointy objects. Naruto cringed at the thought. I'd like to keep all pieces of my anatomy intact. I'm a bit attached, ya know. Kyuubi snickered. Oh, I'm sure she wouldn't think of harming that part of your anatomy yet. She hasn't gotten her use out of it yet. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. It always comes back to that, doesn't it? And you ladies have the nerve to think men are too perverted. He grumbled. Kyuubi just grinned impishly at him, making him sweat drop again. Speaking of which, it's been a while now and there is a hot spring near here. She trailed off as she cuddled up against him and breathed in his ear. I've got an itch that needs scratching. Love, you haven't been doing your duties enough. Naruto swallowed hard but kept his composure, but damn if she wasn't a little minx at times. Silently he allowed her to lead him off. Well, there are worse fates than this. He mused, silently amused. While Naruto was performing his duties with Kyuubi, Sakura and Haku were taking a much-needed soak in the furo. Though this was mostly to get away from their perverted senseis, who would have figured that Zabuza of all people was a fan of the Ica series. Inari and Tazuna had left to go make the final checks on the bridge, and Tsunami went to gather a few things from the new market that had opened up the previous day. None of them knew where Sasuke was. Not that they really cared, since all he did was sulk and brood about Naruto's obvious superior power. Yeah, what an. Sakura-san, Haku suddenly asked a bit shyly. Sakura glanced at her and blinked in confusion. Yeah. Do you really think Naruto-sama would accept me as a part of his family, like you and Q-san? She asked with a bit of a blush. Sakura chuckled. If there's one thing I've learned about Naruto is that he's got a big heart. You already know about his circumstances, and I told you how badly I used to treat him, before I realized what a fool I had been. Just give him some time to get to know you a bit more. I know he likes you as a friend, and if you start showing interest in him, it'll happen. Doesn't it bother you though, having to share him? Haku asked. It's not so hard for me because it's a very common thing in Mist for men to have multiple wives, but I heard most other countries don't often practice it. Sakura sighed. I'll admit, I wouldn't mind having him all to myself, but for some reason I just can't imagine having a relationship with him without the others. One thing I do know is that he needs us. The things he went through in the previous timeline, they were horrible. In a way, I suppose this is my way of atoning for the way my alternate self acted towards him. He's spent so much of his life alone and he's so mature. Sometimes I have trouble remembering he's a 35-year-old man in the body of a 13-year-old boy, even if he's built like a 16-year-old. I guess the reason I don't have a problem is because he treats us equally yet special at the same time. He gives us respect and kindness. He helps us to better ourselves and protects us when we can't protect ourselves. He does have a few negatives, like his violent tendencies, which you saw during that last fight. He broods sometimes, but nowhere near as bad as Uchiha does. He can be very scary, outright terrifying when he's angry. But no matter what, no matter how mad he gets, it's never for the wrong reason and he never takes it out on anyone who doesn't deserve it. He literally went through hell in his first life and by rights should absolutely hate some people. Myself included, yet he's willing to forgive. To me that speaks much of his character, and his honor. I count myself very lucky that he wants me to be a part of his family, that he gives me a part of his heart and I vowed I would do everything in my own power to always be worthy of that. So I guess my answer is no. I don't mind sharing him because sharing him is better than not having him at all. Sakura explained while fingering the engagement ring on the chain around her neck. He is unique, isn't he? Haku mused. He's different from any man I've ever met. He even takes the whole evil demon stereotype and trashes it completely. I don't think that anyone else in the world could pull that off and still be like Naruto-sama. He's definitely one of a kind. Sakura nods with a giggle. Yeah, he is. According to Q-chan, he's a real hot number in the sack too. That's always a plus. Sakura-san. That's so improper. Haku said and then smirked. So, he's really that good, huh? Sakura hummed. According to Q, he made her toes curl. She said he can be soft and gentle or beastly and passionate. Ino actually got a look at his equipment once at the hot spring when she peeped on him and Kyubi confirmed it. The terms standard issue do not apply. The only thing I can vouch for yet though is that he is one hell of a kisser, sure melts my socks off. The only thing I know he's good at is massage. He helped me work out the cramps in my legs and back after training sessions. Haku pouted. Ah yes. He's good at that too, very good. Sakura replied with a slightly glazed look. So when do you think we'll be heading back to Konoha? Haku asked. Sakura stretched a bit and leaned back, giving Haku a good view of her budding assets. Not sure. In the next day or so I'd think. The bridge is built and Tazuna is safe. No one has to worry about Gato anymore so we will probably leave tomorrow morning. She answered. I wonder what Naruto-sama's home is like. He said Zabuza-sama and I would be living there with him. Haku wondered out loud. Sakura grinned. You'll love it. It's the Kazama estate. It's basically a large compound with a huge mansion. It's got an awesome onsen in it, a private hot spring out back, a huge library and a nice office study. Its kitchen is really big too and it had a tea room, family room with a large fireplace, recreation room, a workout room. Front and rear deck patios enclosed by mesh screens overlooking the gardens. It's surrounded by lots of trees and in the back 40 he has a nice private training ground. He's got a few other things too, private wine cellar, fully stocked with loads of aged wines and sake, a small private medical ward and a lab where he works on jutsu, seals and herbal medications. He's also got a family armory with lots of weapons in it and loads of bedrooms. All of us have our own rooms there too, to use if we need them or want to spend the night. Sounds like a really nice place. Your parents let you spend the night over at his house knowing you intend to marry someday? Haku asked a bit shocked. Sakura chuckled. Well, Mom did give me the talk and showed me the birth control jutsu just in case, but Naruto-kun is always a perfect gentleman. He never does any more than any of us are ready for, that and he cooks for us and his cooking is really good. He thinks he picked it up from his mother who also had a natural talent for cooking. Wait until you try his homemade sushi made from fatty tuna, it's to die for, and his triple chocolate cakes, Kami, those are really good. Sakura gushed. I wonder how good he makes sukiyaki or sashimi, those are two of my favorites. Haku mused. I've tasted his sukiyaki before, it's really good and he always gets prime beef for it and fresh vegetables. You'd have to ask Hinata-chan or Hanabi-chan about his sashimi though since I haven't had it yet. Sakura stated. Now I'm getting hungry. Haku chuckled. So am I. Dinner should be started soon. We should probably get out and see what's going on. Sakura said. The two girls got out, dried off and went downstairs and found Tsunami cooking, while Kakashi and Zabuza were busy reading the little perverted orange book. Sasuke was back and ignoring the others as usual. Naruto had also returned with a rather pleased-looking Kyuubi who was back in fox form curled up next to him while he did the usual maintenance on his swords and tools. Tazuna and Inari were playing Go, and Tazuna was losing. Naruto greeted the two with a smile and went back to repairing the kunai and senbon that Kakashi had asked him to. His blades hardly needed any maintenance due to their special properties, but tools like shuriken, kunai and senbon often needed to be checked to see if they were salvageable or not. The two girls were glad to see Naruto back to his usual self and walked into the kitchen to offer Tsunami some help with dinner, a rich-looking stew and fresh bread from the looks of it. She agreed to the help and set the two girls to work on some rice and a salad to go with the dinner. All in all, it looked to be a peaceful night in Wave. The next morning. Are you sure you have to leave so soon? Tsunami asked the group of ninja. They had all gathered at the front of the bridge along with many members of the town to see their saviors off. Naruto was in a different set of clothes this time, just his usual black pants and a copy of his favorite trench coat but without the usual shirt underneath. It was pretty hot out, so no one really blamed him. Even Zabuza and Kakashi were dressed lighter. One really noticeable thing was the lack of mist forehead protectors on either Zabuza or Haku. Though it did distract Sakura and Haku a bit since they kept glancing at Naruto's bare torso since his coat wasn't closed. Kyuubi snickered to herself from her perch on Naruto's shoulder. I'm afraid so, Tsunami-san, we have duties to do back in Konoha. Kakashi said. Kakashi-sensei is right and we have a report to make to our Hokage too. I've also got to get Zabuza-san and Haku-chan registered as citizens of Konoha. Naruto said. We'll come back again one of these days to check on Wave though, and I left my address for you so you can always write. Inari walked up to Naruto. You could tell that the boy was doing his best to hold back his tears. I'm going to miss you, big brother, he said sadly. Naruto smiled and knelt down and pulled the boy into a brotherly hug. I'll miss you too, kiddo. Keep up your training and take good care of your mother. If you ever need my help, you know how to reach me, he said. Inari nodded with a smile as he tried to stop his tears from falling as he pulled out of the hug from his hero. Naruto gave a light chuckle. Ya know, it's okay to cry sometimes. You can't always keep your emotions bottled up or you'll end up like a certain emo we all know. Inari made a slight face while Sasuke grumbled something that tender ears shouldn't hear. I'll try. Do you still cry sometimes? Inari asked. Not often, but there have been a few times. It's nothing to be ashamed of. If anything, it shows you're still human and aren't trying to kill your emotions, something most ninja are guilty of. Naruto answered and stood back up. He didn't notice the admiring looks he was getting from those around him, especially the girls. Kakashi could almost see Arashi's image overlay with Naruto as he talked to the young boy. The women present just knew that he would make an excellent father one day. Alright kiddo, we've got to go now. Keep up your training and practicing that taijutsu I taught you. I left a few scrolls for you to study once your mother thinks you're old enough. Just remember, don't use your skills to hurt others, use them to protect those precious to you and you will never fail. He then turned to Tazuna and Tsunami. It was a pleasure meeting you, Tsunami-san, and your cooking was great. Tazuna-san, best of luck to you and the rest of Wave. Don't worry about covering for the A rank, I will make up the difference for you. Keep that money and help your people get back on their feet. I wish you all well. He turned and looked at his friends. Alright then, let's head out. The others nodded and began following Naruto down the bridge as the people of Wave watched until they were out of sight. That kid, Tazuna mused with a chuckle. He's going to make one hell of a leader someday. Have you decided on a name for the bridge yet, father? Tsunami asked. I think it will suit it well. The Great Naruto Bridge, named after the hero of Wave. May it always stand against the trials of time as that young man stands against those who wish to harm others. Tazuna said. An excellent idea, Tazuna-san. The village masonry said. I will start work at once on a grand memorial statue to place in honor of them. I thank you, Shiro-san. Tazuna said. This is your best idea yet, Grandpa, thank you. Inari said, hugging the older man. Tazuna looked down and smiled as he patted his grandson's head. He then looked back out over his masterpiece as it stood towering over the waters. He knew deep down that had it not been for Naruto and his friends that his vision of this grand bridge would have been lost along with many innocent lives. True, the young man had come because it was his job to do so, but during his stay he had given the people of Wave back something they had once lost. He had given them hope, and he had given his grandchild a purpose once again. To Tazuna, that was worth more than all the gold or riches in the world. Thank you, Naruto Dono, thank you for giving us all hope and a reason to go on. I pray that you find the peace you seek and that your own dreams come true, you truly deserve it. Tazuna thought as he gazed off into the distance.